Hi, it's Chris at the Quilter's Nook, and it is time for another Studio 180 design technique. And we're still plugging through all the Tucker trimmer projects, and this is another fun one. This is called Cyclone, and here's a sample of what we're going to be making. And you can do this with your Tucker Trimmer 1 or your Tucker Trimmer 3, depending on the size of units you're gonna make. If you do 4, 5, and 6-inch units, these little guys, then you can use the Tucker Trimmer 1. I'm gonna be making an 8-inch block today, so I'm gonna have to use my Tucker Trimmer 3. Same thing, just bigger. So the first thing we're gonna do is make strip sets. And in your instructions, it will tell you strip set 1 and strip set 3 will be the same size. Strip set 2 will be a different size. In my case, they happen to all be the same size, so that works out pretty good. So I've got them sewn together, 1, 2, and 3. We're going to press everything open throughout the whole project because, as you can tell, there's a lot of seams that come together in that. So we want everything to lay nice and flat, so we're going to press everything open. Once you have your strip set made, we're going to cut them into squares that are the size of your unit. And in my case, this is 5 inches. So I've cut a 5-inch square. And I'm going to, this is important. So fabric number 1, you're going to take and twist so that it runs from lower left to upper right. Okay, because we're going to be cutting in half diagonally, and we want to make sure they all are identical. Okay, it will depend on how your Cyclone twists. So then I'm going to cut corner to corner, and you're going to get 2 different blocks. Okay, they are identical except for the fact of which fabric is on top, okay? And you're gonna cut all your squares into halves like this. Keep them in separate piles because they are 2 different blocks. So that's another benefit of this technique. You get 2 blocks for the price of 1. So we're gonna start with 1 block, and it's gonna tell us, or 1 set of blocks, and it's gonna tell us, I got a few more here, that we're going to use the same line on our Tucker trimmer as the size of the block. So mine is 5 inches, and we're going to trim this. So I'm going to take the 5-inch sizing guide on my Tucker trimmer, and we're going to put that on this angle right here. And we're going to line the edge of the tool up with the edge of the block. Okay, so you got your 5-inch going across the bottom, edge of your tool going across the edge of that long diagonal, and we're going to trim. Okay, do that one more time for you. 5 goes along the diagonal edge of your fabric on the edge of your tool. There we go, and we're going to trim. And you're going to do that for all of your units. Then we're going to take these units and we're going to sew them back together in pairs. Okay, so you'll have a pair here, and this is the different block, but it's the same thing, so you end up with pairs. Okay, you're going to press those pairs open, and before you sew them all together, we have to trim them. And to trim them, we're going to do a sliver trim. So we're going to take the common diagonal on our tool and line it up on our seam line. The objective here is to basically get rid of your dog ears, but most importantly, we want a square corner. So we may have a sliver of fabric to cut off. Okay, you don't want to cut off too much. Just enough to get your dog ears off. Once that is done, you're going to put these all together into a half. Okay, so you've got 2 of those units together, and you're going to make a second half. Pressing your seams open, and then you're going to put them together into a hole, matching your center seam. Nothing else has to match along here, which is wonderful. So when you're sewing these together, nothing matches except the point and the end. Okay, kind of nice. When we get to this point, we have to trim. And my trim is going to be 8.5. So I'm going to take my 8.5 inch sizing guide. He's going to go through the middle of my unit, and the common diagonal is going to go through the other edge, the other diagonal. Okay. And as you can see, we're going to trim off 2 sides. Okay, not a lot to trim off, but a little bit. And then we're going to take him and we're going to turn him all the way around. We're going to do the same thing. 8.5 inch on one diagonal, common diagonal through the other diagonal, and we are going to trim. So that's 4 sides. We have 4 other sides. So we're going to flip him up once. We're going to line our 8.5 inch at the bottom and along the side so that we can trim off a couple more sides here. And let's see, let's turn him once more, see if we have any more here. 8.5, 8.5. A little bit to trim on that one. That one's pretty good. Just double check and make sure you get all your sides trimmed. And I think we are good to go. Now it's going to call for squares, because as you can see, we're going to put squares in the corners. And to do that, we are going to take our square. It tells you the size and the directions. We're going to cut him in half. And we're going to place them where corners would be. And you get to pick, it doesn't make any difference. So we're going to put one there, one there, one there, and one there, okay? And you're going to just kind of match up the tip with your seam line. That's going to give you a kind of the center point. And I like to flip it over and sew so that I can make sure that I'm keeping all my seams nice and flat. And you're going to sew a 1/4 inch all the way around. And you're going to do that for all 4 of your corners. And depending on how you want to put this together as a project, you may want to take one of these and press the triangles towards the block and one of them away from the block so that they'll nest for you. It's something to think about. Once we have those all on there, you can tell they're oversized. Okay, everything floats, which is perfect. We're going to take our Tucker Trimmer 3 and we're going to put our 8.5 inch, because we've already trimmed this, our 8.5 inch along the edges. So you can see that all we're going to be trimming are the corners. So we're going to cut the corners off. And then we're going to turn him around. Line the 8.5 inch back up. Cut off our corners. And you have a cyclone block. Pretty quick, pretty easy, and it's a fun little project. So when you put these together, you see how these are going to match? If I pressed one out and one in, these will nest for you. And you can make any color combinations you want to. You can turn this into a table runner, a complete quilt, whatever you would like. So that is Cyclone. All right, next time we're going to do flock of birds. So we'll see you next time.